65% of African American men are at risk for a heart attack or stroke. 65%. That is an abnormally high number. 65% of African American males. 46% of males in general over the age of 20 have hypertension, high blood pressure. So almost half of men have high blood pressure, which is the number one risk factor for a heart attack or a stroke. Okay, so a lot of people don't pay attention to the hypertension. They only pay attention to the stroke or the heart attack. Okay, but the hypertension is the check engine light. Pay attention to the check engine light is what I'm saying. Okay, the other thing is men are 2 times more likely to have a heart attack than women are. Okay, 2 times more likely. Now, there's a whole list of factors that are involved with that, but what's really important to know is that we have a higher propensity for heart attacks and strokes. And the unfortunate thing is that the majority of someone's first heart attack is sudden death, meaning they die when they have the heart attack, the vast majority of people. So this is why it's so important that we realize we got to take care of our hearts. And here's the thing. If you want to take care of your heart, that means you got to take care of your gut. Meaning you have to eat well. Okay? And if you want to take care of your gut, you got to watch what you put in your mouth. Okay? I think that's hugely important. And the reason why I'm focusing so much on the gut with men is because it's equally important. But I think what's important is that, you know, men tend to not put a whole bunch of things that are like unhealthy on their skin. Like most men don't wear makeup and use a lot of products on their skin. And those products are filled with parabens and phthalates. These things that are endocrine disruptors, these things that, you know, disrupt hormone function in the body. And so one of the primary ways that men destroy their hormonal balance is by how they eat. And the unfortunate thing is most men aren't having standards when it comes to what they eat. So you gotta focus on your heart health. This is the number one killer of men, either through a heart attack or stroke or some form of cardiovascular disease. And to be able to do that, you got to focus on your gut, meaning what you put in your mouth. Okay. Number 2, testosterone. Now, here's why I say testosterone, which is going to lead into my third one and help you understand a little bit better. Low testosterone. Well, first, let me say this. Testosterone is at an all-time high. And when I say all-time, I mean in the entire existence of human beings. It is at an all-time low. Okay? Low. Okay? And so with that being said, it's important to know and understand if you were to go back in time and look at our paleo ancestors, they were walking around with a testosterone between 1,000 and 1,200. And you look at the average testosterone today is somewhere around 200 to 300. Okay, so something is happening and we need to make an adjustment. But here's the important thing I want you to know and understand. When you affect one hormone, you affect all hormones. Okay? And that's hugely important. And the reason why it is important is because when you affect any hormone, it not only changes the balance, but it changes you. And let me explain why. Affecting this one hormone, testosterone, increases infertility, so your ability to have children, causes erectile dysfunction as well too, hair loss, depression, okay? Muscle development as well too. So this could be the reason why you're going to the gym, you're putting in the work, but you're not getting the results. It also decreases motivation. So if you have been trying to work on a project or you're trying to get motivated about, you know, climbing up the corporate ladder or whatever it may be, or starting that new business, and no matter what you do, you just can't seem to get motivated by it, get your testosterone checked. Because if you have low testosterone, it affects your motivation levels, which I think is hugely important because that will dictate how we show up, not only in relationships, but in life in general. Okay. And when men don't have motivation, it is very hard to be who you are. And what I mean by that is it's hard to go to the gym and put in the work. It's hard to go to work and put in the work. It's hard to do work after work on projects or goals that you've been working on. So that's hugely important. Also, when you have low testosterone, it lowers your sperm count as well too. All right. Also, blood clots, increases blood clots. And we know that blood clots lead to heart attacks and strokes as well too. Okay. All from low testosterone. And it also enlarges the prostate, which we'll talk about a little bit later. And you'll understand how that plays a role as well too. Okay. So it enlarges the prostate. So this is why low testosterone is on the list for me, because when you have this one hormone imbalance, you can see how many issues it could cause. Depression, hair loss, erectile dysfunction, low libido, infertility, lack of motivation. The list goes on and on. Lead to other health issues, heart attack and a stroke as well, because it increases blood clots. So it's hugely important to know and understand that this is something that we have to be very watchful of, our testosterone levels, because we could I see men quite often write it off. This is just who I am. And when that happens, the unfortunate thing is now you won't be able to do anything about it because this is who you think you are. When in reality, the real issue is that there's a hormonal imbalance. Okay. So hugely important. Number 3, and this one's near and dear to me, is depression and suicide rates. Okay. They did a report with the CDC and they found that males represent 78.7% of all suicides. Okay. And that number has been steadily increasing from 2000 to 2020. Okay. As a matter of fact, in 2022, there were 49,500 deaths as a result of suicide. That is the highest number ever in 1 year. Okay. Now, the reason why that is so important is because, again, men have 4 times the rate compared to women when it comes to suicide. Okay. So, and this is a topic that isn't being talked about, but I'm starting to see so many males out there, both well-known and unknown, who are dying from suicide. I personally have had 4 of my friends commit suicide. So this is near and dear to me because when you think about, how society is set up, there's a stigma for men around mental health issues. So we quite often don't seek the help that we need. There's also a stigma around talking about those amongst other men and even your partner. Because quite often when we, in many cases, not all cases, but when we do take an opportunity to be vulnerable, quite often it could be thrown back in our face and weaponized against us. So there's not enough safe spaces for men to express the emotions that they're having. And especially in a society like America, where there's a huge stigma over men talking about not only mental health issues, but also talking about, their vulnerabilities as well, too. And quite often when you start to look around, and I felt this way forever, nobody wanted to hear about my pain. Nobody wanted to hear about my depression. Nobody wanted to hear about my shortcomings. Nobody wanted to hear about my struggles. Okay. And we live in a society today that literally says that get it together, man up. That's the society we live in. But all of us need a mental break. That's actually why I wrote this book, Life is My Guru, and dedicated it to my father. I wrote this book and put my life in the book because I wanted not only men, but women also to see the struggle. I wanted them to feel my vulnerability. And this book was actually, for me, this book was very therapeutic. Okay. It was an opportunity for me to be who I am as a man and not have to feel like I'm being weak because I'm talking about all the struggles, the losses, the feelings associated with those struggles and losses, the heartbreak, etc. So I highly recommend checking out the book. It has a journal as well too. And I want men to know it's okay. And I also want men to know that there is always an outlet. Always an outlet. Okay. So depression and suicide rate is something that we have to pay close attention to, especially the feelings that are going on within ourselves as well too.